I didn't know she was begging. I stood there in the empty parking garage at midnight, my boss leaning against my car, mascara running down her face, whispering those words I'll never forget. Take me home or you're fired. I thought she was being cruel. I thought she was drunk. I thought I knew exactly what kind of person she was. I was wrong about everything. Before we go any further, I want to invite you to join our Sage Stories family. If stories about real human connection, resilience, and the moments that change us speak to your heart, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like if this story touches you, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Your voice matters here. My name is Marcus Webb, and 6 months ago, I was just trying to keep my head down and do my job. I worked as a junior accountant at Harmon Financial Group in downtown Chicago, one of those glass tower buildings where everyone walks fast and talks faster. The kind of place where your worth is, measured in billable hours and client acquisitions. I'd been there for 8 months, and in that time, I'd learned to make myself invisible. Our CEO was a woman named Victoria Harmon, 52 years old, always in designer suits, always 3 steps ahead of everyone in the room. She had built that company from nothing 20 years ago, and everyone knew it. She didn't suffer fools, didn't do small talk, and definitely didn't learn the names of junior accountants like me. I'd been in the same elevator with her maybe a dozen times, and she'd looked through me every single time like I was part of the wallpaper. The other employees talked about her in whispers, cold, ruthless, brilliant but brutal. There were stories about people she'd fired on the spot for mistakes, about clients she'd dropped without a second thought, about the way she'd built her empire by being harder and smarter than everyone else in a world that didn't want to make room for her. I believed every word. When you're young and trying to survive in a corporate jungle, you believe what everyone tells you about the people at the top. I had my own reasons for needing that job. My mother had been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's 2 years before, and I was helping my sister cover the costs of her care facility in Oak Park. The salary wasn't great, but it was steady, and steady meant my mom got to stay in a place where they knew her name, where they sang old Motown songs with her on Thursdays, where she could look out the window at the garden she loved even on the days she couldn't remember why she loved it. So I kept my head down. I came in early, stayed late, and tried not to exist too loudly in Victoria Harmon's world. The night everything changed started like any other late evening at the office. It was a Thursday in October, and I was finishing up a quarterly report that needed to be on someone's desk by morning. Most people had gone home hours ago. The office was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of a cleaning crew working a few floors down. I was tired, the kind of tired that settles into your bones when you've been running on coffee and worry for too long. My sister had called earlier to tell me Mom had a bad day, didn't recognize her, got agitated when they tried to help her get ready for bed. Those calls always left me feeling hollowed out and helpless. I finished the report around 11:30 and packed up my things. The office felt different at night. All those aggressive corporate spaces turned into something quieter, almost lonely. I took the elevator down to the parking garage, thinking about nothing except my bed and maybe the leftover pizza in my fridge. That's when I saw her. Victoria Harmon was sitting on the concrete floor of the parking garage, her back against a pillar, still in her navy suit but with her shoes off beside her. Her hair, usually pulled back in a perfect bun, was loose and messy, and she was crying. Not quiet tears, real shoulder-shaking sobs that echoed in that empty concrete space. I froze. Every instinct told me to walk away. Pretend I hadn't seen her. Let the CEO have her private moment. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way she looked so completely alone. Maybe it was thinking about my own mother and all, the nights I'd found her crying over things she couldn't name anymore. Maybe it was just that I'd been raised to check on people who were hurting, even when it wasn't convenient. I walked over slowly. "Miss Harmon, are you okay?" She looked up at me and I barely recognized her. Her eyes were red and unfocused, and there was something in her expression that looked like fear, raw, unfiltered fear. "I can't," she said, her voice breaking. "I can't remember where I parked. I can't remember. I've been looking for an hour." My first thought, I'm ashamed to say, was that she was drunk. It was late, she was disoriented, and I jumped to the easiest conclusion.
"Do you need me to call someone for you?"
"A car service or take me home." She grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "Please, just take me home. I can't let anyone see me like this." I hesitated. Everything about this felt wrong. But she was clearly in distress, and leaving her there alone felt worse. Okay, my car's right over here. Where do you live? She gave me an address in Lincoln Park, one of those beautiful old neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and historic brownstones. We walked to my beat-up Honda Civic, and I felt weirdly embarrassed about the fast food wrappers on the floor and the crack in the windshield. She didn't seem to notice. The drive should have taken 20 minutes, but I stretched it to 30, taking a longer route because she seemed to calm down while we were moving. She sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window, occasionally wiping her eyes. I didn't push her to talk. I just drove and let her be. When we got to her building, she turned to me before getting out. Her eyes were clearer now, more focused, and there was something in them I couldn't read.
Marcus, she said, and I was startled that she knew my name.
What happened tonight stays between us. Do you understand? It wasn't a question. It was an order. And underneath it, I heard something else, a plea. Of course, I said. She nodded once, got out of the car, and disappeared into her building. I drove home thinking I'd witnessed a one-time breakdown, stress or grief or whatever it was, that made even the strongest people crumble sometimes. I thought that would be the end of it. 2 weeks later, it happened again. I was working late on a different project when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Marcus. It was Victoria's voice, quiet and tight. I need you to come to my office. My stomach dropped. I thought I was about to be fired for seeing her vulnerable, for knowing too much. I rode the elevator up to the executive floor with my heart pounding. Her office was dark except for a single desk lamp. She was standing by the window looking out at the Chicago skyline. I need you to drive me home again, she said without turning around. Ms. Harmon. Victoria, please. She turned to face me, and I saw that same lost expression from the parking garage. I'm asking you, Marcus. Take me home or I'll have to fire you, because I can't let you walk away knowing what you know if you won't help me. The threat was quiet and desperate, and I suddenly understood. She wasn't being cruel. She was terrified. I drove her home again that night, and the next week, and the week after that, it became a pattern. Once, sometimes twice a week, late at night, she'd call me. Sometimes she'd be in her office. Sometimes in a conference room. Once in the bathroom on the 7th floor. And every time she'd be lost. Not metaphorically lost. Actually genuinely unable to find her way. I started to piece it together from the things she'd say in the car. The same stories repeated with slight variations. The way she'd sometimes forget what she'd told me 5 minutes earlier. The fear in her eyes when she couldn't remember simple things. One night, about 2 months into this arrangement, I finally asked, Victoria, have you seen a doctor? She was quiet for a long time. Then, so softly I almost didn't hear her. Yes. And? Early onset Alzheimer's, diagnosed 14 months ago. She laughed. But there was no humor in it. Ironic, isn't it? I built this entire company on my mind. My ability to see 3 steps ahead, to remember every detail, every number, every person's weakness and strength. And now my mind is disappearing piece by piece. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Does anyone else know? My doctor, my lawyer, and now you. She looked at me. If the board finds out, they'll remove me. If our competitors find out, they'll tear the company apart. If my employees find out, they'll panic. I spent 20 years being the strong one, the one who has all the answers. I can't let them see me like this. So you're just going to keep pretending? Keep working until you can't anymore? What choice do I have? Her voice cracked. This company is everything I built. It's my legacy. It's who I am. Without it, I'm just a 52-year-old woman forgetting her own life. I thought about my mother, about the way she'd fought so hard to hide her symptoms at first. Terrified of becoming a burden. Terrified of losing herself. About the shame she felt when she finally couldn't hide it anymore. You're not just your job, I said quietly. You're a person who deserves help. Who deserves compassion? She didn't respond, but I saw her wipe her eyes. After that night, something shifted between us. She stopped pretending quite so hard when it was just the two of us. She'd ask me to remind her of things, to help her piece together her day. I became more than just her secret driver. I became the one person who knew the truth. I started staying later at the office deliberately, making sure I was there if she needed me. I learned the signs of when she was having a bad day. The way she'd shuffle papers on her desk without purpose. The way she'd stare at her computer screen like the words weren't making sense. The way she'd grip the edge of her desk when she stood up. Like she needed to ground herself. 3 months in, I found her in the parking garage again. Same spot as the first time, sitting on the floor crying. But this time when I sat down beside her, she leaned against my shoulder. "I forgot my daughter's name today," she whispered. I was looking at a picture on my desk, and for 30 seconds, I couldn't remember my own daughter's name. Charlotte, her name is Charlotte. And I forgot. I didn't have words for that kind of pain, so I just sat with her and let her cry. "Does Charlotte know?" I asked eventually. "She lives in Boston. We haven't spoken in 2 years. I was too focused on building the company when she was young. Too hard on her when she wanted to study art instead of business. Too proud to apologize when she stopped calling." Victoria's voice was hollow. "And now I'm forgetting her and she doesn't even know I'm sick. Maybe you should tell her." Maybe I've lost the right to ask for her compassion. I thought about all the nights I'd spent with my mother. Reading to her, singing with her, holding her hand through the confusion and fear. I thought about how grateful I was for every moment I got to be there for her. Even the hard ones. Especially the hard ones. "Everyone deserves compassion," I said. "Especially from the people who love them. And I bet she loves you more than you think." Victoria didn't say anything, but I felt her hand find mine in the dark. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in February. I was in a meeting when my phone buzzed with an emergency alert from building security. There was a disturbance on the executive floor. I ran up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, my heart hammering. I found Victoria in the middle of the hallway, surrounded by 3 board members and her executive assistant. She was shouting at them, confused and angry, insisting they were in the wrong building, that she needed to get to a meeting that had happened 6 years ago. Her suit jacket was on backwards. She'd lost a shoe somewhere. The board members looked horrified. Her assistant looked like she was about to cry. And Victoria looked absolutely terrified beneath the anger. I pushed through them. "It's okay. I've got her." "Mr. Webb, this is not your—" one of the board members started. I said I've got her. I used a voice I didn't know I had, firm and unyielding. I put my arm around Victoria's shoulders. "Come on, Victoria. Let's go to your office." She resisted for a moment, then seemed to recognize me. The fight went out of her. She let me lead her away. In her office, I helped her sit down, got her some water, and found her missing shoe under a chair. I sat across from her and waited while she came back to herself piece by piece. The confusion cleared slowly from her eyes, replaced by devastation. "They saw," she whispered. "Yes. It's over, isn't it? Everything I built over." I reached across the desk and took her hand. "It doesn't have to be." That evening, I helped Victoria draft an email to Charlotte. Not explaining everything, not asking for forgiveness, just saying that she missed her and wanted to talk. It took an hour to write 3 sentences because Victoria kept forgetting what she was trying to say. But we got it done. The next morning, the board called an emergency meeting. I wasn't supposed to be there, but Victoria asked me to come, and for once, the board members didn't argue. They'd seen enough to know something had to change. Victoria stood in front of the people she'd worked with for years, the people she'd hired and mentored and fought alongside, and she told them the truth. Her voice shook, but she didn't hide anymore. She told them about the diagnosis, about the progression, about how she'd been trying to manage it alone because she was afraid of being seen as weak. There was silence when she finished. Then her CFO, a man named Robert who'd been with the company since the beginning, stood up. "We'll figure this out," he said simply. "You built this company, Victoria. We're not going to let it fall apart. And we're not going to let you face this alone." One by one, the others nodded. They didn't promise it would be easy. They didn't pretend nothing would change. But they committed to supporting her transition, to protecting her legacy, to doing right by the person who'd done so much for them. I saw Victoria cry again that day. But this time, they weren't tears of fear. They were tears of relief. Charlotte called 3 days later. She'd gotten the email and she was on a flight to Chicago. When she arrived at the office that weekend, I was there because Victoria had asked me to be. She was nervous, forgetting words, struggling to express everything she wanted to say. But Charlotte didn't need perfect words. She just needed her mother. I watched them hold each other, both crying, both apologizing, both trying to find their way back to what they'd lost. Victoria worked for 2 more months in a reduced capacity, training Robert to take over as CEO. She announced her retirement in April, citing health reasons but doing it with dignity, surrounded by people who knew the truth and loved her anyway. Charlotte moved back to Chicago to be with her. The company thrived under new leadership, built on the foundation Victoria had created. I still visit her, once a week, sometimes more. We sit in her apartment in Lincoln Park, the one I drove her home to so many times, and we talk. Some days are better than others. Some days she remembers everything clearly. Some days she thinks I'm someone else. But she's not alone anymore, and she's not afraid. Last week she looked at me with clear eyes and said, "Thank you for seeing me." Not the CEO, not the tough woman, not the diagnosis, just me. I told her the truth, that she'd taught me something I needed to learn. That strength isn't about hiding your struggles. It's about facing them. It's about letting people in, even when it's terrifying. It's about giving and receiving compassion, especially when it's hard. I think about that night in the parking garage all the time. How I almost walked away. How I thought I knew who she was. How wrong I was about everything. I thought she was, begging to be taken home because she was drunk or cruel or testing me. I didn't know she was begging because she was lost and scared and desperately trying to hold on to herself in a world that was slipping away. We all carry things people can't see. We all have moments when we're barely holding on, and sometimes the kindest thing we can do is just be there. Drive someone home, sit with them in the dark. See them when they can't see themselves. I learned that from a woman who everyone thought was invincible. Turns out she was just human, just like the rest of us, just trying her best, just deserving of compassion. If this story touched you, I hope you'll share it. I hope you'll think about the people in your life who might be struggling in silence. I hope you'll remember that everyone, no matter how strong they seem, needs kindness sometimes. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a time someone saw you when you needed it most, or a time you chose to see someone else. Your story matters. Your voice matters. And remember, the strongest thing you can ever do is ask for help. The bravest thing you can ever do is let someone care. We're all just trying to find our way home. Sometimes we need someone to drive,